Welcome back everyone to another video. You're in for a treat. This is a full 20-minute video of my time trial that I did last night. A local cycling club time trial. And there's no two ways to say this really, but I set a new all-time best power for 21 minutes. Spoiler alert, that's how long it took me to do this 10-mile time trial on my Factor super fast climbing bike, which is also super quick on the flats. But I hope you sit back, relax and enjoy this whole video of the whole footage of this time trial with me talking over it. So grab your coffee, your popcorn, or whatever your beverage of choice is. I do actually have a cup of coffee here, so we're going to delve right into it, and I'm going to talk about the build up to this, and the training I've done over the last couple of weeks briefly, how I felt coming into this time trial as well, and where this puts us going forward. Because of course, in a week's time, well, every Thursday, so the last couple of weeks, every Thursday I've been doing a time trial hosted by Beic Cycling Club. So the first week I did a 10-mile time trial, which was on this course, and I did 383 watts. For context, tonight I did, well, in this video rather, I did 392. I didn't actually gain 9 watts in the space of 3 weeks, by the way, although that is kind of what happens when you come into a taper and you actually listen to your training and you back off volume and maybe a little bit of intensity. But then the second week there was a 15-mile time trial, which led me to showcase the fact that I'm in pretty decent shape at the minute. So that was last week where I did the 15-mile time trial, and I managed to do I think it was 375 watts for 32 minutes. And I kind of knew I was going well then, because that was in the middle of a 28-hour training week. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been building basically to this one event, which is technically my first big event of the year, which is the Mallorca 312. But a couple of days before that, there's a potential for me to have a stab at my personal best time up Cyclist. Obviously, everybody knows the climb. Probably one of the most famous climbs in the world. Definitely probably one of the most accessible ones then for cyclists. I know there's Alpe d'Huez and there's Mont Ventoux and all these monster climbs. But in terms of being accessible and being very sort of cycling friendly, I suppose Cyclist tops the list. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about that actually. So I'm heading out there for a PB attempt, and that'll probably be done on the Thursday prior to the 312. So it'll be the Thursday coming, basically. So I was thinking, I know people have reached out to me. The best place to keep up to date, obviously there's only so many YouTube videos I can pump out between now and then. But if you want to really be kept up to date with that, then the best place is my Instagram stories. So at Laverack, and you'll know for certain if I'll be going for my PR attempt on the Thursday morning potentially. So if you're on the island, it'd be great to see you. Come out, cheer, and it'll be an early start. But we've got to kind of beat the traffic a little bit, and if you can grab some photos or videos or anything, it'd be much appreciated, and we can build a really nice video from that. So this was why I wanted to do this video in this sort of style, so that you would kind of get a feel for what you would get from that Cyclist video. I intend to ride with the GoPro on. I know it weighs 117 grams, yes, but I can't afford to not have the footage really, because it's a once in a lifetime thing. It's not many chances I'll get to ride that climb, no doubt. So anyway, I feel like I've made notes for this as well, but I feel like I'm rambling already. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this actual time trial. So it's a fairly flat course. You'll see some climbs in a minute, but they're more like sort of motorway drags. 2.5% for, you know, a couple of 100 meters or something like that. I didn't actually win this time trial. I think I came 4th or 5th. There's a lot of fast people in the local area, you know, a lot of dedicated time trialists. You'll see me you'll see guys and girls coming back on the other side of the road, you know, who set off. There was 30 of us in this time trial, which is it was a great night, you know, weather-wise, and wind-wise. It was a fast night because I did a 21:02 on a road bike, and I think the fastest time was the guy who caught me, Chris. He did a 20 flat, and yeah, he caught me for a minute bang on. But you get to stick around to the end, because it's really funny at the end where he catches me in the last kind of couple of minutes, and then I won't tell you what happens. Last couple of weeks have been gradually increasing volume. Intensity not so much, but I've just been changing sort of the intensity distribution. So a lot of my training over the last I would say the last 4 to 8 weeks has been like, it's a lot of threshold work, like a lot of stuff like this. So the type of effort I'm doing in this time trial, and I've seen a lot of improvements in my ability then to ride at threshold. The actual idea that like I tend to either train hard or easy, like there's not actually been many sessions where I've ridden very, very hard in terms of like, you know, maybe your classic VO2 max sessions or, you know, anaerobic power sessions. A lot of it has been in this sort of, you know, around the threshold mark, because I know that's technically it's what I'll need to do really anyway on Sakalobra, but I'll also need it for the early stages of the Mallorca 312. So I actually went for a lab test a day before I did this time trial. So I'd kind of taken a couple of days easy in the build up to the lab test just to get myself fresh enough to do it. So I'd come off the back of that 28-hour training week, had a couple of days of virtually like really, really low intensity and hardly any riding. And then on the 3rd day I did the lab test, and the 4th day is this time trial. So the taper has officially begun, but I take the taper very seriously because obviously I can do all this work, you know, all this training, and I can push myself for, you know, 8-12 weeks prior to this event. But like if I don't rest and rest at the right time, then like I've basically like thrown all that work away. I can be very, very fit, but then I'm so tired that I can't actually do, you know, any of my personal best. So that's a really important thing to realize, and I know it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us, because we always see that fitness number dropping. But it's part of the game, you know. It's part of that fitness, freshness, fatigue sort of balance, and it's not complicated either, really. I'm edging towards sort of, because mainly I structure my training around doing blocks, like training blocks of, you know, 2 to 3 days and then a rest day and things like that. So I don't really tend to work in sort of week formats. But when I'm in my taper, things start to go off a feel a lot more. So I can structure the training, but I'll often feel my way through it more than I will actually sort of structure my way through it. The next couple of days I'm thinking along the lines of doing this time trial. So that was Thursday, so I ended up doing a total of almost 5 hours of training on this day, this time trial day. So obviously this time trial was in the evening. I did ride in the morning, I trained in the morning. So yeah, the whole idea of doing these time trials on a Thursday night has been to just get me into the swing of doing the effort, trying to practice holding your hand near the flame, for a sustained amount of time, where like in a training session you might struggle like with motivation to do that. And although it shouldn't necessarily be the case, but sometimes, when you're asking for, everything you've got, or when you're asking for a personal best, you can't do that in a training session. You could argue that if you're doing it in a training session, then, you're not quite the balance of like, getting it right is not right, basically. Like, you want to be timing it so that on race day is the time when you're really hitting those numbers and hitting those sensations. And even though technically today is a training day, obviously I'm pinning a number on my back and this is a race. So it's that added motivation. And I know a lot of people struggle with like, the anxiety and everything of racing. So like potentially, you can be over aroused, and that actually that would actually hamper your performance in a race. And the trick is then to race more, because the more times you put yourself in that situation, the better. So it's a combination really, when I do these time trials, of putting myself in that sort of state where I'm nervous, I'm anxious, I know that I've got to perform well, because I'm putting the expectation on myself ahead of my, big goal. And then like showing up and executing on a strategy. So yeah, the more if you struggle with it, the more times you do it, the better, in my personal opinion. The thing with like a time trial is, you're obviously riding at or above your threshold. That's really how you can pace a time trial, pace a lengthy effort like this. When I was going out to the turn in this video, I was going out to the roundabout, and I was sat at around about 380 watts, which I knew based off obviously that 10 mile time trial a couple of weeks ago that I can ride at 380 watts, and that was when I was under fatigue. Like, hopefully I can, now that I'm in my taper, I can do that 380 and then some. So going out, I kind of knew sensations were good. And when I got to the turn, I knew I hadn't been caught yet by the faster guys, of which, I'm about to be caught now any second in this video. But I knew that there was no sensations of like, I feel like I'm on the edge. And time trialing or any sort of effort like this, because I think a lot of people obviously class me as a climber, but if you can be aerodynamic even on your road bike and put out power, then you can also be very fast on the flat. You can also be a time trialist. But I think the whole idea of practicing this effort is so that I improve that ability to hold the effort, but also improve my performance anxiety and everything else that comes with it. Like, the pressure is not really on, but I'm putting pressure on myself to do a good ride. And the stats from this ride speak for themselves. Once I turned around and I was coming back, and we're entering the last sort of minute and a half to 2 minutes of the time trial now, Chris comes past me. I make sure I stay out of his draft by keeping left, and then I swap. When he comes left, I swap out to the right, so I'm not trying to take the draft from him. There's obviously very little I can do, but like, once he gets the gap, then I can sort of slot in behind, which, it is what it is. But like, I knew that like there was a little headwind and a drag to the finish, so I can use him as a carrot so I can squeeze everything out. But for the last sort of 10 or 9 minutes, then I was sat at 400 watts. The last 5 minutes I was doing 410 watts. So even though the first 10 minutes I was sort of doing 385, for me to be able to then ride at 15 watts more on the return leg, it obviously shows that like potentially I could have gone off slightly harder. When I'm talking slightly harder, I'm talking like 7 watts. Like, it's almost like marginal, but like, you know what I mean? It's something that you take away from it. And that's something I can take into, the Sacralobra climb, because although that's going to be, you know, over the 20-minute mark for sure, then I know how to pace it and what I've got in myself. It's more a question of like, if I get everything right and the weather's right and my preparation coming into it and my nutrition and caffeine and everything really will play a massive important role in the final build-up. Excuse me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I might end up cutting it down. I don't know, but I appreciate it if you stuck with it, because there's obviously like I always feel like I've got to add a lot of backstory to what I do sometimes to the performances, because I can appreciate that they might come across in a certain way, and you know, I don't want them to come across in a certain way. Like, I want people to take something away from them rather than taking like negatives away from it. Like, you know, I'll never get to that level or something, because I realize there's a broad spectrum of people that follow me, and you know, there's a lot of people that maybe want to aspire to the same level, and a lot of people like just want to you know, this onboard footage is something I don't often do. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you finished your bag of popcorn just in time for me to finish the time trial there. So all is looking good, if I do say so myself, and I'm really, really excited for next week in Mallorca. So I hope you can stay tuned for that. You know, subscribe so you don't miss a video, like, comment down below your favorite part that I was talking about in this video, and I will see you very, very soon.